Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Inside Out at Atlantic Center for the Arts. My name is Nancy Lowden Norman. I'm co-executive director here, along with Jim Frost. Thank you to the few and the intrepid for coming this evening to share the program. It's going to be a wonderful evening. I'd like to recognize a couple of our board members. Mark Price. Mark, please give a wave. And Doug McGinnis. Doug. Thank you both for being here and always supporting what we do. And thank you to all of the artists who are here. I hope you've had a wonderful 3 weeks. This was kind of an experiment for us, bringing Dosti in the last 2 weeks. But I know, I've heard, I'm sure it was so enriching for all of you. So thank you for taking the chance to be here. Thank you for taking the time to be here. You are why we are here. And we're all happiest when we're in residence. So thank you.
Wow. As usual, Nancy has said everything that I was planning on saying, and literally everything. I was going to thank, well, first of all, I was going to say it's residency number 156, which is an incredible milestone for Atlantic Center for the Arts. I was also going to mention the Board of Trustees, because while all the artists are working out here vigorously for 3 weeks, and sleeping restfully at night, the Board of Trustees is working nonstop to keep this place running like a well-oiled machine. And of course, not only the Board of Trustees, but the amazing staff of Atlantic Center for the Arts. Our two program geniuses back there, Nick Conroy and Greg Cole. Lexa right there in the kitchen. You've got Adam and Kelly at the bar tonight. I mean, come on, does it get any better than that? And of course, all our other wonderful office staff and our downtown staff who make this facility and the mission of Atlantic Center for the Arts incredible. So I also have to thank the Master Artists in Residence. Thank Dani and Suzanne over there. And also thank Jeremy and Chris from Dosti who have come out and joined us for this residency. It's been very cool. I think it's really in the spirit of collaboration and experimentation that Doris Leeper, our founder, loved. And so it's been a really exciting project for us to be involved in and an exciting residency to put on here at ACA. So thank you to all the associates for taking a chance on an unknown kid and applying to be here in residence with us and for joining us for the 3 weeks. And now I'm going to turn it over to who's up next. Who is it? Visit to Barbara. All right, come on up, Barbara.
Okay, can you hear me? We're good, okay. I just want to thank Atlantic Center for the Arts. This is actually my 3rd residency, and I just feel phenomenally blessed every time I'm here. And this time I took a risk and joined a group that writes memoir and fiction, and I'm mostly a poet. So I've had an especially amazing experience with Dani because I'm learning ways of integrating chunks of poetry into memoir. So this is one of those pieces. This I wrote actually at another residency at the Malay Colony, which is in upstate New York. And so you should know that I come from that part of the world, from New England, but I currently live in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I'm always kind of at crossroads with these two landscapes. The other thing you should know about this piece is that I wrote it the day after the poet Seamus Heaney died. Malay Colony, Morning by the Meadow. I sit in the house of many windows, scratchings in walls and rafters. In every landscape, curtains lift and retreat, sway side to side and still. There is always a choice, to be kind, to be cruel. Goldenrod feathers morning mist, and this new place, its elms and maples, its high grasses. Tripod in the garden empty of beans. The teacher writes beside the student. The Irish poet is dead. No panther in the brush, no wren at the table. I am old. I am not old. Red flush to the sumac. Crickets forget themselves. I am inside, I am out. My death is this white sky. It said, lie down in the word-heard burrow, the coil and gleam of your furrowed brain. Andrew Wyeth painted the river uncoiling through field, mountain, slate hill, split by its tinsel. But from an aerial view, it is abstraction, map of a man's meandering mind. Rivulet, delta, stream, daybreak, dusk, a rendered world. We wend our way in the dark, hands out to sense the shifts in temperature. Squint-eyed, half asleep, we refuse the great sorrows that hold our lessons. We strong-arm what might gentle us. I come from canyon, thin air to heavy to prey. The deer curl on their wet grass mats. The beavers slicked down and danced out. Emblem, object, archetype. In my childhood landscape, I am bereft yet eager. I empty grit and gravel from my shoes, pull stones from between my toes. My arid home is half home, and this half foreign. Clover, black-eyed Susan, Queen Anne's lace. As a girl, I oiled chestnuts on the side of my nose. The gleam pleased me. My pockets packed like squirrel cheeks. Mist is my reverie, my shawl. When it rains in my high desert home, when it snows, when clouds pile their silver and black explosions, I am happiest. My dad could skip a stone 6 leaps. He taught me to choose smooth ovals, but my wrist snapped too early. He said, teaching has a ripple effect. When he taught me to sail, he snapped the lines, then blundered the jib, scowled at my clumsy hands. I have a history of less than. Flat on my stomach in the white-pink clover, I'd study bees. I believe if I sit long enough, a deer will cross the sloped lawn. It will step lightly, dew between hooves, cloven, cleave, taste of wet clover. Do we come home to grief, unpin its shroud and climb in? Thanks.
I'm Paul Skenazy, and I want to thank Dani for the last 3 weeks and everyone here, but I also just want to thank the other people in my group because I turned out to be the only man among 6 women, and they've been incredibly gracious to me and not let me know that that was the big question on anyone's mind at any point in our time together. I'm going to read actually a piece in the voice of a woman tonight. Whether that has anything to do with any of that. It's called Windmills. Aunt Rebecca was dying. No one near her would say that, at least out loud, at least to me. I don't know what my mother and her other sister Gladys said to each other over the phone, arranging who would be over at Aunt R's to help out one day to the next, or what they said to their mother, Grandma Ann, who was dealing with her own health problems, hips and legs aching so much she couldn't shop for herself anymore. But we all knew, I think. I knew anyway, much as I denied it, much as I held back saying it even to Peter, lying next to me in bed, sympathetic as a husband can be. Peter was older, had gone through all this himself. Father, mother, aunts, even a couple cousins had died already. So I knew he knew. I knew he'd understand. I knew he did understand when all I said to him that spring was that I had to go down there to L.A. to visit Aunt R at least once a month, every month, as long as I could. That's all I said. And he went to get his calendar to pencil in weekends, the dear knowing I didn't want to fly down, knowing I wanted him around, knowing I'd be too tired to drive both ways and get myself to work on a Monday. That's how the miniature golf began. It was Peter who pulled off the road the first time in Sunnyvale when we passed the course with its giant windmill advertising the obstacles, and I said, "You know, Aunt R used to be the Southern California miniature golf champion when she was younger." That's all I said. And before I knew it, we were parked and looking up at the sign for the course. It wasn't crowded. There was a foursome we caught up to after 6 holes who let us play through. We'd both played before, but not for years, and we were awful. I took a 10 on one hole and had a lot of 7s and 8s. But I had a hole in one, too, and Peter had 2 par 3s and a birdie to go with his 6s and 7s. We were back on the road in just over an hour, even with the Pepsis we drank after. I told my aunt when we saw her, and she laughed as I described not being able to figure out the windmills, getting the ball into the wrong chutes, and putting uphill and watching the ball roll down and down and down again and again. She gave me a couple tips, especially about not aiming straight, but going for bank shots and how to work sloped curves. So on the way home, I insisted we stop at another course, this time in Pismo, and I scored better, a little better anyway. Slower going, Sunday afternoon, hot outside, lots of families, lots of yelling kids. No 10s this time, though 3 8s. That's how it began, my career in miniature golf. Depending on which highway you take, there are anywhere between 2 and 5 courses between San Francisco and Los Angeles. By October, when Aunt R finished her second round of chemo, I'd played them all maybe 7 or 8 times. Peter played them too, though by late August he was bringing along a book and sitting in the car for the hour or so it took me. Peter's never been too into improvement. He figures something out more or less, he likes it or not, plays it once in a while or not, and that's enough. He's a decent tennis player, he can throw a frisbee, he rides a surfboard in low waves, he catches a fly ball, he hits 5 of 10 free throws, jogs a couple of miles, even more if pressed. I joke with him about that a lot, the way he just settles, and he just smiles, and nods, and settles. I like to get things right, really right, and when someone's dying who you love, you've got to change your life somehow. It's that simple. So I recorded my scores, I talked to my aunt, I read up on the game, I studied the courses, I bought myself a putter for our trips. I was getting so I thought about entering tournaments, going pro. There's not much money in it anymore like there used to be in the 1950s, but still, you could pay your way if you were good, I heard. And by then, Aunt R had pulled out her old albums that I hadn't seen since I was a kid. There she was, fancy shorts with cuffs, the crease neat as a ruler, iron blouse, hair puffed up. She stood holding a trophy in a few, leaning with casual pride on her putter in a bunch of others. You could see the deep greens of the fake grass behind her, mixed with bits of false roofs and metal loops, like a toy city. I even got her to talk about the tournaments on tape, so I'd have something to listen to later. How she would borrow the car, and her and my mom and Gladys would head off to Palm Springs or somewhere for a weekend. They would mention some guy's name, some Warner or Randy or Sherwin, and I'd catch a look from one to the other, or maybe a giggle, and I knew there was more to their golf game than I'd ever know. But I learned enough. In the family stories, Aunt R was the smart one. She was the one who had a career after school, who traveled the world, 2 divorces, 2 kids, no regular man around, didn't let anything slow her down. While Mom had me and stayed with my dad more or less happy, more or less not, and Aunt G still did the books for Uncle Ken's furniture store and took 2 days a week off to play with her grandkids. We'd practice together, me and Aunt R, days when she was strong enough, her testing me in the living room on the rug to see if I could make the ball go where I wanted when. 8 inches, 4 feet, into a glass, between 2 bowls, around chair legs. We laughed a lot those months, and so did Mom and Gladys, all of us wishing we'd been around to see her play more, to play longer, to play with more Sherwins and Stewarts, to play some course where the windmills turned randomly in both directions, and all you had were your instincts to help you get the ball to go where you wanted it to, like we want to be able to do forever. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dani Dobkin. I'm part of Suzanne's visual artist group. I am a composer and sound artist, and I would like to thank everyone who has shared these past few weeks with me. This piece is called Troposphere.
I'd like to thank everybody at the Atlantic Arts Center. This has just been an incredible couple of weeks. I'd like to thank everybody in my writing program. You guys have been really inspirational and supportive, and especially I'd like to thank Dani for giving me this opportunity. This piece is called The Great Wall. Swinging wildly in a rickety chairlift, marked two-person maximum, I shake, my arms braced across each of my daughters like a cross, an extra safety bar. My daughters take no notice of my shaking because they are shivering. Below us is a shiny silver slide winding its way down the hill. Leafless trees surround the slide like a forest of petrified snakes. As we climb, a gold streak emerges like a sunrise along the horizon. We watch it grow into a tall wall coiling over the hills. It's not a stone wall, it's the stone wall, the Great Wall of China. I had hired a driver who spoke no English. When I got in, I simply said, "The Great Wall." I expected a short drive to a spot where we would take a stroll. 2 hours later, we arrived at the Mutanyu entrance, the Chinese equivalent of an amusement park without the safety features. Who knew? I must have missed that one in the guidebook. I had sworn off formal tours years ago when I assisted my travel agent's sister on a Shriner's trip to the great European cities. As we toured the Eiffel Tower and wandered the gardens of Versailles, I thought, why would I ever pay for a guide like me? I can create my own itinerary, and I don't need to make small talk. Carrie, Caitlin, and I have roamed Phnom Penh in a tuk-tuk lost for hours and taken a boat ride with locals down the Mekong River, thanks to my aversion to formal tours. Everything always worked out. We always got home safe. Dad was an airline pilot, so we had the luxury of free flights. I created a post-Christmas ritual. My tradition was find a place as far away as possible where there were available seats and go. My philosophy was, let's see the world. Dad would take a pass. All he wanted to do on his time off was stay home in his own bed. The girls would roll their eyes and pack their bags, hostage to my gypsy soul. As I quiver in my seat, I'm hoping not to repeat my last chairlift fiasco when my skis got tangled and I fell face forward while getting off, forcing the entire system at the swanky resort to shut down. Here on the wall, I will not be taunted by roars of laughter. There is no one to be seen. The spirits of ancient brave warriors are our only companions. We walk up and down the steep, slippery slopes through watchtowers and gateway doors. The girls race along the bricks and hide behind the walls. We have the Great Wall to ourselves. The girls' shrieks are echoing in the hills. The moment of awe I wish for, a rare moment on most of our travels, is now. I witness abandonment and pure joy. I feel pure terror. I see a sign, "Test the brake," above the slide on the way down. That's the way down, a one-person toboggan. My last toboggan adventure made the chairlift blunder look like a minor washout. On that jaunt, I crashed into a tree, sprained my ankle, and had to walk 5 blocks home. I had planned, albeit loosely, for the Great Wall excursion to be a gentle hike on a majestic wonder, not a death ride down a terror of doom. The girls' joy was now rising to ecstasy. "A luge," screamed Carrie. She was 13. Caitlin was a very tiny 8. They had no fear, and this was not the time to show mine. Out of nowhere, a family of 4, another pilot and his brood appeared. The dad, recognizing my angst, offered to take Caitlin with him, and Carrie and I boarded on another flimsy sled. I throttled the handbrake for what seemed like an eternity of terror. As always, everything worked out, and we got home safe. By the time Caitlin was in high school, she had had it with these trips. Cheerleading and sleepovers were much more fun than meandering the markets of Bangkok. She had grown too sophisticated to be lured with fake Coach purses. Try as I did to entice her with promises of more time at the hotel and extra massages, nothing worked. I have only myself to blame for the final straw. When she was 13, I sent her to live with an Italian family in a remote village to attend a children's film festival. Carrie and I saw her pouting face every morning as we left for day trips to spots like Pompeii and Sorrento. After that, she put her foot down. I hate traveling, she declared. I just want to stay home in my own bed like Dad. Fast forward to the summer after her first year of college. She had friends going to study at Florence, and she decided to join them. She called me on a Monday afternoon to tell me about the weekend excursion. They had traveled to an island off of Pisa and hadn't bothered to check the return schedule from Pisa back to Florence. With no trains or buses available, they were stuck overnight in Pisa. At 10 p.m. Sunday night, which would have been 4 o'clock our time, her friends all called home, crying hysterically. I didn't call you because I didn't want to wake you, she said, laughing. Besides, I learned from you. Everything always worked out. We got home safe.
Hi, everyone. First of all, I want to thank the ACA and Nick and Jim and Nancy and everyone here who just makes this such an extraordinary experience for all of the artists who come here. It certainly has been for me. I want to thank my group. You guys have been so wonderful, and it's been really just a very special experience being with the 7 of you. And what I thought I would do is still writing. My most recent book is really my love letter to writers and artists. So it seemed like what could possibly be a more appropriate place to read a teeny little bit of it from the end of Still Writing. And the very last tiny chapter is called Still Writing. My friend Mark, a sculptor whose large-scale works in granite and marble have been commissioned by Stanford University and Penn State, whose pieces are in some of the most prominent art collections in the country, and who is a well-respected professor at the New York Academy of Art, pulled me aside at a dinner party. Somebody just asked me if I was still doing my sculpture thing, he said. I laughed. I'm serious, he said. How was I supposed to respond? Are you still doing that brain surgery thing? I thought of all the times that I've been asked if I'm still writing. I've been asked this by acquaintances and strangers, even by fans, readers of mine. Still writing? It always felt to me like a shameful thing that I was being asked this, that surely if I'd written more books, won more awards, made more money, was better known, I wouldn't be dealing with this question. Still writing? Over the years, I've assumed there must be a point at which this would cease to be asked. After 2 books, 5, 7, after being interviewed on NPR, The Today Show, Oprah, for God's sake. Though I felt protective of my friend, it was a relief, ridiculous though it was, to hear that he had to deal with the same question, as if he might have outgrown it, changed course, gone into law, or opened a fish store instead. I've asked around, and I discovered that every artist and writer I know contends with a version of this question. It's asked of writers who are household names. It's asked of photographers whose work hangs in the Museum of Modern Art. It's asked of stage actors who have won Tonys, of poets whose work is regularly published in the finest journals. No one who spends her life creating things seems exempt from it. Still writing? Oh, and I'm pretty sure that the person asking it means no harm. It's just an awkward stab at social chit-chat, but best to stick with the weather or the miseries of the college admissions process or the deliciousness of the soup. Still writing? I usually nod and smile, then quickly change the subject. But here is what I would like to put down my fork and say. Yes, I am. I will write until the day I die or until I am robbed of my capacity for reason. Even if my fingers were to clench and wither, even if I were to grow deaf or blind, even if I were unable to move a muscle in my body, save for the blink of one eye, I would still write. Writing saved my life. Writing has been my window, flung wide open to this magnificent, chaotic existence, my way of interpreting everything within my grasp. Writing has extended that grasp by pushing me beyond comfort, beyond safety, past my self-perceived limits. It has softened my heart and hardened my intellect. It has been a privilege. It has whipped my ass. It has burned into me a valuable clarity. It has made me think about suffering, randomness, goodwill, luck, memory, responsibility, and kindness on a daily basis, whether I feel like it or not. It has insisted that I grow up, that I evolve. It has pushed me to get better, to be better. It is my disease and my cure. It has allowed me not only to withstand the losses in my life, but to alter those losses, to chip away at my own bewilderment until I find the pattern in it. Once in a great while, I look up at the sky and think that if my father were alive, maybe he would be proud of me. That if my mother were alive, I might have come up with the words to make her understand. That I am changing what I can. I am reaching out a hand to the dead and the living and the not yet born. So yes, still writing.
Hello, I'm Julie Hampton, and I just want to thank Dani for this great opportunity. And this is such a magical place, and I've been surrounded by such brilliant writers and sang karaoke with these awesome artists. So this is a piece I was actually able to shape here, which I'm really excited about, and it's trimmed a bit for this reading, but. When I drive into the village piazza, he is standing on the cobblestone road near his house like a sentinel on guard, waiting. I recognize him immediately as Alessandro's oldest son, but I have forgotten his name. He has grown from a small boy to a burgeoning teenager, tall and lanky with stooped shoulders. He watches, without moving from his post, as I turn from the piazza onto the single-lane road. In the house, I am putting away the milk when the doorbell rings. I secretly hope it is my neighbor, Rebecca, now 9, reprising the doorbell ditch pranks of her older brother, Ricardo, who hid around the corner until I opened the door to no one, his giggles giving him away as he ran up the street. More likely, it is one of the salesmen with his bag of poor-quality dish towels or tablecloths or socks, for which I have practiced my no grazie. But it is neither of them. It is Alessandro's son, the sentinel. While I was winding my way back up the backside of the hill in my rental car, he was climbing the front side of the hill, past his house and his dad's wood shop, through the cobblestone streets to my front door. I stand in the doorway. Ciao, I say, waiting. He says something, but the light switch from English to Italian in my mind hasn't yet been flipped. I concentrate. Bambola castana, he asks. Alessandro and his wife adopted this now teenager and his younger brother from Russia when they were infants. I met the boys when they were toddlers. Alessandro tried to explain his oldest son's developmental disabilities in a rudimentary Italian. As a teenager, his face is elongated, devoid of expression, frozen in neither joy nor pain. He speaks slowly and clearly and has the patience of a saint. He could be my best Italian language teacher yet. Bambola castana, I repeat as a way of practicing my Italian in an effort to engage. He nods and confirms. After our first go-around with him outside and me at the door, our conversation might take a while. I step back to invite him into the foyer. Permesso, he asks. Si, avanti. I say, yes, come in. He steps inside. The afternoon light is hitting his face, and I see the beginnings of a beard, blonde whiskers at his chin. He is almost a man. Bambolo castana qui? I ask. Is it here, this bambolo castana? Si, he says, nodding, looking at me, his movements slow and deliberate. Scrivere, I say, motioning with my hand for him to write it down, hoping the spelling will jog my memory. Scrivo, he says. He looks around the foyer. Ah, una penna? He needs a pen. I find a pen and a pad of fluorescent green Post-it notes next to the guest books in the foyer and set them down. He picks up the pen in his large, loopy script, writes in all caps, Bambolo castana laite. taking up the whole square 3-inch sticky note. I ask if bambola and bambina are similar. Bambolo come bambina? I put my arms in a cradle position like I'm rocking a baby. He does the same. See, he says, and now I assume his inquiry has something to do with a baby here in this house. I misread latte to be latte and wonder if this is about milk. I interpret our conversation to be about babies, where they are and how they feed, the image of my sister Heather's nipples being milked by her breast pump. She's in our guest room in Phoenix, pulling up the strapless bra with 2 overlapping slits, sliding a suction cup in each with small plastic bottles attached. She looks like a parody of Madonna's Like a Virgin video, in which she wears her famous pointy pink bra. I hear the hum of the machine. The pump, creating suction, pulls each engorged nipple into its cup, alternating from right to left breast to release her milk. I ask if she ever feels reduced to a cow, having watched our cousins in their barn slide the long and narrow milking machine cups onto their cows' teats, the milk pumped into a huge stainless steel holding tank. Yes, she says, but breastfeeding hurts. She unscrews the bottle from each suction cup, pouring the milk into a sterile bottle. Pumping allows her husband and surrogate feeders like me to hold Marlo and watch her eat, which I do with pleasure. I imagine this Russian-born Italian boy, a seer, a gift of divine sight, piercing through my childlessness to ask me about children, to force me to think about my life with or without offspring and pick one. I need to quit living in limbo and leaving it up to fate. Maybe I just need to ask of everything I create, what child is this? The word child is surrogate for book or art, anything I give life to. But that's so obtuse. I read the Post-it note again. Seeing castana spelled, I remember it means chestnut. No, brown, to describe hair. I try out a life with no child in the presence of this teenage seer. No, I say, non ho bambola castana, non qui. No, I don't have one, not here. No child with brown hair, even though I've pictured her in my mind's eye 1,000 times. But he persists. He looks toward the living room 2 stairs up, toward the fresco where the baby Jesus is missing, toward the antique baby stroller with a hole in the side I now use to store wood. Bambola castana, bambina castana. I indulge in that image, a brown-haired baby with my husband's eyes, but bookish and quirky like me. I take this boy seer around the house, in every room, opening each drawer, dresser drawer and wardrobe and cupboard to show him the house is empty of babies with brown hair. His eyes seeing everything, watchful, unconvinced. We are back in the foyer, and before he leaves, I ask him what his name is, the one phrase I didn't forget from Italian class. Come ti chiami? Tommaso Simonini, he says, enunciating each syllable. He takes off the previous sticky note and writes his name. I escort him to the door, say ciao, and start toward the kitchen to unpack my groceries. I turn around when I realize I didn't check the foyer drawers or cupboards. The cupboard is full of old pots, a half-used bag of charcoal, and reusable grocery bags. The left drawer is full of maps and brochures. The right drawer has tape, a mini stapler, a compact umbrella, light bulbs, and batteries distributed among the 3 front compartments. When I pull out the drawer further there in the back compartment, I find the mini Italian-English dictionary, its cover now fallen off. I look up bambola, and there is its English translation, doll. A small human figure, one of a baby or a girl, a child's toy. Tommaso was looking for his lost doll with brown hair. I am too, I guess, but she is still imaginary.
Hi, I'm Leonora. Can you hear me all right? I want to thank Dani and my compatriots and everybody here at ACA. The last time I was here, I wrote poems that resulted in my first book, and I'm hoping that what I did here this time will end up being a book. Dani has created a wonderful environment in which people do things that are wild and they bring them back into some wonderful order that we find together. So it's a grand experience. The thing I'm writing about is pretty difficult. My granddaughter got leukemia when she was 3 years old, and I've tried to write about this for a long time. What I've done is to write about chemotherapy in the various stages, and I'm sure you all know someone who's gone through it. And this piece is intensification, and it's about the third phase of chemotherapy for childhood leukemia, in which the child is given a lethal dose of a medicine for a fixed amount of time, and then an antidote is administered instantly before it kills the child. So it's close timing. 6th floor, Children's Hospital of Michigan, pediatric oncology. I arrived late for my shift, as I so often do. Turned the wrong way off 75 onto Mac, into the most ruined parts of ruined Detroit, with its burned-out houses and empty weed-filled lots, anchored on every block by well-kept churches whose parking lots are fenced with chain link topped with concertina wire. By the time I found an abandoned gas station to make a U-turn, I'm an hour late. Jane Marie's maternal grandmother, Rosalie, had to rush out, no time to exchange whispered notes. Jane Marie is sleeping, spayed out on the skimpy muslin sheets, head lolling back over a wadded pillow. From the poisonous fruit of the IV bag, ochre fluid flows toward her heart. Her sweaty hair is bunched behind her, and I want to lift her neck and sweep it up, cool her neck with a washcloth. On the roof outside the window, a workman shovels creosote into pits on the flat roof to stave off leaks. His shadow flickers through the blinds, stripes over her pale body, licks at the port on her chest, and gathers in dark pools in the loops of IV line. I can't see the movement of her chest in the grayed-out light, can't hear the sound of her breathing over the scrape of steel against gravel, the low voices of Jane Marie's best friends, Bob the tomato and Larry the cucumber, from the video player, the mewling yowl of the crack baby down the hall. I lean in, my thighs peeling stickily off the plastic window seat, hover over her face and hold my breath until I hear her exhale, smell her too sweet breath over the stink of the workman's tar. I put my fingers to the blue veins of her upturned wrist, ginger so as not to wake her into pain, and find her pulse, slow, so slow, but oh, strong and steady. I hold on her and cannot let go, cannot help but caress the underbelly of her wrist with my thumb in my selfish need to rest in a rare stillness that only the feel of her living fresh flesh can bring. I sit and sit, pace my breath to hers and listen as the other sounds recede to background, and I nest with her, safe and alive, in hypnagogic stillness. We are this way until she twitches her hand away. She rolls her head from side to side and groans from deep in her throat, rough and thick. It's an ugly, aggressive sound, one I have never heard come from her body before. Has this high-dose chemo attacked her brain and triggered a seizure? I look for the emergency button to call the nurse, but before I can find it, Jane Marie settles back into sleep, the same spayed-out posture, arms and legs wide. My own throat tries to replay the note of her groan, but it is not equipped. What this particular concert of anguish feels like to Jane Marie, I cannot know or feel. I can only know how these constellations, autonomous as any Jungian complex, play out through her body, her voice. Each chemical regimen has its own pitch, its own pattern of scream and whimper, its own moods, its own postures that enact themselves through her, as if each brew of chemicals mounts and rides her like a different Voudon Loa. The deep-throated groan, I think, is the voice of the new treatment she is beginning, intensification. That's the first part of that essay.
Hello, I'm Pam Thompson, and of course I want to thank everyone, for those of you who conspire to make ACA this incredible place of freedom for us, and for all the artists who've been here. It's just been amazing to be here. Can you guys hear me all right? Okay. I'm going to read a short piece, and I guess for me, I never knew before coming here that I could write anything that was shorter than 300 pages. So luckily for me and for you, apparently I can write a short piece. So this is called Owl Lady, or maybe Flight, or if you have any other ideas, see me after. The circus lady, upon closer inspection, was not a circus lady. When I stepped forward, I saw that she advertised nothing, and that the spangled veil she hid behind was only a kind of excuse and protection. She was watching people very closely. She was watching me very closely. I could see only one of her eyes, large, green, unblinking. I could not turn away. Close up, I saw that her eye was an owl's eye, her forehead an owl's head, her cheeks owl feathers, and then her neck swiveled, feathers brushing against her collarbones, adjusting the fit of owl to human. She drew me to her, and I understood that she was my fate, or was I her prey? I knelt, and she took my head in her hands. My forehead rested on hers. A head is mostly bone. With my skull, I felt her feathers, the skirt of them, their skittery jaggedness, how they wrapped round and round, how they whistled in the wind and thought of rodents scratching along the ground. When I stood again, I was different. I reached up to touch my face to see if I was still myself. That spot along the left chin bone where my fingers first glanced and spread was different. Smooth, a young woman's soft skin, not feathered like the rest of me. I'd done that, doubted for an instant, and marred my transformation. Gazing into her owl eyes with my own, we said some silent words about doubt and belief and the possibilities of night. From that day, I took to wearing scarves and pulling my hair closely about my face. Over time, the feathers fell out, but I was left with a kind of scar, the mark of my finger's surprise. Perhaps there, my children saw and thought with satisfaction or relief, when she was young, my mother was a beautiful woman before she became an owl.
So before I do my bit, I just have a thank you from all all of the artists and all of the writers to a woman who has supported us and helped us and fed us the most amazing meals for the past 2 weeks. Lexa Walsh, can you stand up? Yep. Lexa, we have for you a gift certificate to Moe's that will be arriving in your email box. So, thanks. So I'm Allison Williams, and this is a story that, it's a true story, and I'll be telling it on the Moth for NPR in a couple of weeks, so I'm glad to get to work on it here. My best friend is a woman I have never met. I mean, yeah, I have a high school best friend who was the maid of honor at my wedding, but this woman is my functional best friend, the person I talk to every day. When I am crying for no reason at all, but so hard I have to pull the car over, I call Kate, and she says, maybe you need to check on your Wellbutrin. And I say, oh yeah, maybe that's it. She always picks up. She is always home. And this is because one of the first things she told me about herself, she is circus freak fat. And she lives in a house in Louisiana surrounded by her mother, the hoarder's stuff, which is piled on top of her father, the hoarder's stuff, that was in the house when she inherited. About 6 years ago, it got hard to walk. So she left her job at the power company, cashed out her retirement, and went home to die. We met in an online writing contest. 300 people, reading, writing, chatting in forums. We hated all the same stuff. We started emailing. One night, I needed feedback on a piece. At 1 o'clock in the morning, her time, she let me call her and read it to her. And we've talked every day ever since. She doesn't go out. And I don't mean doesn't get out much. I mean, sometimes I will call her and she says, I think I'm going to go to the door today. A journey that takes an hour and most of her energy. When she gets there, she likes to lie down and take a nap on the threshold until the delivery guy comes. She likes to hear the sound of the rain on the screen door. I get out. I get out a lot. Alaska, South Africa, a temple on the top of a mountain in Nepal. I call her from everywhere I go and tell her what I see, like, there's a dude with a sacrificial chicken in front of me. I tell her I see women in Sherpa clothing with baskets of oranges, pens full of black goats. I hold up the phone so that she can hear the temple bells. I say, there's maybe 1,000 people here. They are lined up the hill, here to pray to Bhagwati. She says, wow, when was the last time anybody in America lined up for church? I say, I have a week between Florida and Tennessee. I could come take out some boxes for you. She says, you're funny. I hang up and take some oranges to the little Ganesha shrine, where I pray that she will let me come. Kate misses fruit. She can only eat food that delivers. Nobody delivers fresh fruit. It's the one thing Amazon doesn't sell. She orders pizza the day before trash day because the delivery guy will take her trash can to the curb, and then the next UPS guy will bring it back up again. Some days, she journeys to the door for a package that never comes, and then back at her computer, she finds out it's probably at the back door. I say, I could come deal with like just the 6 buckets of fishing baubles in the carport. I wouldn't even have to come inside. She says, you're so funny. I call her from the top of a mountain outside Anchorage. There are runners training by running up the mountain. They make it up and down twice before I hit the top. I say, I'll be on my way from New Orleans to St. Louis. It's not even really a detour. She says she doesn't want to talk about it. I call her from Cape Town. Are you still at the door? She says, I hate this. I hate my life. I'll come help anytime. Do not ever. She says, stop pushing, and we both cry. Our conversations are always awkward after that. So I let it be. And when she says, maybe I'll start going to the door every day instead of every other day, I hear, maybe I won't die. I know why she doesn't want me to come. It's not the boxes or the cats. It's the giant hoard of shame. The shame of having to used to be someone who taught call center workers how not to get yelled at, someone who was just a big girl with good hair and a nice personality, to somebody who schedules a trip to the door, somebody who's running out of money, who won't apply for disability or unemployment or let her best friend help. Then I end up in Blue Moon, Louisiana, 54 minutes from Kate's house. I buy oranges and apples and green bananas that will last, and I make a sign that says, "Please do not leave packages at this door. Take all deliveries to front." And I get it laminated. I call, and Kate picks up. She always picks up. And I realize the price of having Kate at the other end of the line is having her on the other end of the line. I say, I see a carport, a black and white cat in the window, and I hold the phone so she can hear me getting back in my car with my bag and my sign and my fruit and driving away. Thank you.
So, as most of you know, the Dosti Music Project is bringing together musicians from India and Pakistan and the US. We're spending the first 2 weeks, which are almost over here, and then we'll be traveling to New Orleans and Texas at the South by Southwest Festival. Tonight, we're going to do a little bit of playback a couple of recordings we've made over the last couple of weeks here. And Debanjan Bhattacharjee has been kind enough to offer to play a tune. Our main performance will be tomorrow at 7 o'clock here, and all of the Dosts will play. So hopefully some of you will still be here or can come back. In the meantime, are you ready? Do you want to play, or I can play a tune? I'll play a tune. One of our fellows who's not here, so it's appropriate that we play her music, is Aurora, and Debanjan and Zohaib had a really wonderful trio. So it was actually really sweet because we had all three countries represented in one trio, and just from the very first day, they managed to play some really beautiful music. So I'm just going to play a recording that I made just on a very simple Zoom recorder in the dance room about a week ago, and then the real Debanjan in the flesh will come and play a piece for you. And the weird thing is, like, when he came to ACA, he barely knew how to play that thing. And it's just like he's been working on it the last couple of weeks, and like all of a sudden he can like really play, which is a testament to how awesome. No, this place is great, but he was really great before he came too. This guy, on the other hand, is also great. Oh, the drone never stops. So now for something completely different. It doesn't stop. Yeah. This is Bilal, and he'll explain a little bit about his work, which is in a slightly different style.
Hi, I'm from Karachi, Pakistan. I'm a producer / audio engineer, and so I was picked out for the Dosti program, and ever since I've been here, all I've done is work with very, very talented musicians to record their music and sort of make something out of their little pieces of music, how I interpret it. And so I'm just going to play one of the tracks that I really like. I'm going to play 2 or 3 of them, actually, but the first one's my favorite right now. That was the first track that I started working on, and a lot of the sounds were, I could credit ACA for it, because I just went around with a recorder, breaking twigs and just stepping on grass and different broken leaves, and getting the sounds of the crickets at night, and visiting the gazebo at 7 in the morning, getting some sounds for like birds and stuff. So the environment itself, just not the people, but the environment that I've been put into, it's been very, very inspiring. And just being surrounded by creative people has brought me to sort of develop in many different ways. So I thank everyone at the ACA, and obviously you guys are all very, very talented. And I've had a great time so far with hanging out with everyone. I'm just going to play one more tune, and then I'll be off. got it. Thank you.
It turns out they are performers. I had no idea, but I found out late at night. I'm making you stand up here with me because I'm also not a performer. I just want to say thank you to Lexa, who's a genius, and I think creates the hearth for all of us to gather around, and it's where I got to know a lot of the writers, and I really value this experience because writers and artists often don't play together. And musicians, I live in a household with musicians, and I have musicians coming and going all the time, some of whom I know and some I don't know. And there's a natural way that people who play music interact. And writers and artists often have to create those situations, and this is one. So I want to thank ACA for making that possible. There's this difference between play and work. We talk about work, and musicians play. And I know that there's work in the play, and there's practice. But we all got to be around each other when we were playing and working, and that's a really unusual situation. So thank you very much. I want to make a special invitation for you to visit the studios because these 6 people, Erica is not here, have really made some amazing leaps. She's really tall in their work, and not everything that happened during this 3 weeks is something that you will see in these rooms because a lot of it will be made later, but they are amazing people. I learned so much from them. They're from many parts of the world, and they'll tell you all about themselves if you'll visit them in their studios, which I hope you will. Thanks. I could tell you what their names are. Do you want their names? Yeah? Okay, you go say something about it. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Chris Taylor from Flagstaff, and thanks everybody, and thanks Suzanne. You're the best.
Hey again, I'm Dani. I'll be presenting the rest of my work in the music studio in about 20-30 minutes.
Hello, I'm Astrid, and thank you so much for this great experience to everyone.
I'm Vika. I'm very grateful to be here. It was great.
I'm Luis Artur, and I'm really glad to be here. Thank you.